Need to call the meeting to order. Flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pray with me. Father, we thank you for all the blessings you have bestowed on us. We are thankful for our health, our family, and our community. Please be with our retirees as they take on a new path in their lives. We are thankful for their service to our students and district and appreciate the skills and dedication they brought to us. Our students would not be where they are if it were not for our staff, past and present. Help us to end the 2020-21 school year with great joy and satisfaction for jobs well done, students well taught, and COVID well gone. Please be with our men and women of the armed forces, veterans, current, and service members. We so appreciate them for our freedoms. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Roll call.
Mr. Newsom?
Here.
Mr. Riley?
Here.
Mrs. Rowland?
Present.
Mrs. Troop?
Present.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Here. Presentation to the retiring Ponca City Public School employees.
All right, it's that time of year where we always recognize our retirees, and last year at this time, we were actually in a virtual meeting, so we had a virtual recognition, and so our retirees are all out in the hall, and I will have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we have almost 600 years retiring at the end of this school year, 600 years of experience, and I'll give you the total experience and the experience they've had with PCPS. So first we have Ronald Allen. So Ronald, if you'll just come forward and meet Nancy Zimmershed in the middle, and we've got a couple of stories about you, Ronald. Hope we don't embarrass you. Your friends give us all the good info. Ronald has been a custodian at Lincoln for 9 years, and Ron enjoys visiting about softball and baseball with anyone. Is that true, Ron? Yes. His brother's grandchildren played on the Wildcat softball team, and now this year at the baseball team. You'll stay up for all hours, no matter what, to watch a game on TV, and he loved talking about sports and loves the OSU Cowboys. He took a lot of pride in his work and did his best to make sure classrooms were clean and that the teachers were happy with the job he was doing. So give it up for Ronald. 9 years service. Thanks for all you do. All right. We appreciate you, Ronald.
Thank you, Ronald.
Next, we have Ms. Denise Baldwin. Denise, come on in. She has been an Oklahoma educator for 31 and a half years, and all of those have been with PCPS. So, she's a legend at Garfield, and I have to tell you, Denise, there are already fourth graders protesting your retirement. Denise teaches fifth grade. She's always been someone that is reliable, trustworthy, and dependable. One of her best qualities is the relationship she makes with her students. She seems to remember every little detail about her students from years past and can spout them off at a moment's notice after 31 and a half years. One of her past students sent us a message saying how 20 years ago she was in Miss Baldwin's fifth grade class, and she was always dressing up for spirit days and how her energy was always infectious. She said at that time Miss Baldwin was well known for her braid and French braiding her hair. The student said it came up in class one day and Miss Baldwin took her hair down and redid it right there in front of the class. This student remembers it being the coolest thing and said she can report that she can now French braid her own hair, but she'll never be as cool as Miss Baldwin. Aww. And what, she was your teacher, Anna?
Yes, she
Anybody
was,
else have Miss Baldwin for their teacher? So Denise, we appreciate your service. And another story, I think even on our vacation vaccination, when we went to White Eagle, one of our nurses talked to you about some art, and you came up with some art that you found at Garfield that her current husband had done. So, hey, dug up all kinds of trivia. Thanks for your service, Denise. Next, we have Janice Brandstetter. And Janice Brandstetter has been a pre-K teacher with PCPS for 19 and a half years, and this is her only experience. So she has become a Wildcat and stayed a Wildcat. And it isn't too common anymore for a teacher to be able to spend their entire career in the same grade with the same teaching assistant for most of it. So Miss Stacy Gibson, has she been your assistant the entire time?
13 years.
13 years. So she came to Union when she first started, and now she's at the Pre-K Center. Ms. Brandstetter has been a blessing to hundreds of students throughout her career. She continues to keep in touch with her students and their families, and we will miss her and her fun spirit. And she does a lot on social media to connect with her families and her students, from reading stories to teaching lessons. So congratulations, and thanks for your service, Janice. Next, we have Sharon Chamberlain, and Sharon has 32 years of experience in the state of Oklahoma, and 27 of those years have been with PCPS. And Sharon is a TA at the Pre-K Center. Sharon has spent her life in the classroom supporting teachers and students. She is patient, she is kind, and she is nurturing. She can jump in and teach at a moment's notice, and we've asked you to many times this year because we cannot get substitutes. Sharon is that type of person who will give 100%. She'll never complain, and she shows up each and every day with a great attitude. Her friendly smile, caring heart, and tenacious work ethic will be missed. Thank you so much, Sharon, for your service. We appreciate you. Next, we have Barbara Cusick, and Barbara Cusick is our Executive Director of Curriculum, and she has been an Oklahoma educator for 44 years, and all 44 years have been with PCPS. And we reach out to colleagues to get stories about our retirees, and some of them are just quite interesting. So the main event about Barbara is when she was principal at West Middle School and the office flooded. And guys, I'm not talking just a little trickle, it flooded. I mean, there was water pouring down. Barbara, if you don't know it, is always calm, cool, and collected, and she was her typical calm self during this event. She was waiting around the office area while the ceiling was literally raining on her. She was so cool in her demeanor while at the same time trying to open her desk drawers that were swollen shut with moisture. Brett was there, and at one point she looked at him and wondered if covering the copier would actually do any good, as water was pouring from its inner workings. That was said with tongue in cheek. And then several teachers said that they walked by her office and she actually was holding an umbrella sitting at her desk. Then this came into every secondary principal knows that when Barbara Cusick wears a scarf, it means that someone's in trouble. If she enters the building with the scarf on, no one makes eye contact. So if you see Barbara with a scarf, you need to run the other way. When Barbara first was hired at Ponca City Public Schools, she said, I'm going to stay here for 1 year. Here she is, 44 years later. Thanks for your service, Barbara. Next, we have Mr. Michael Farmer. He teaches choir at West Middle School. 37 years as an educator, 32 of those years were in Texas, and the last 5 years have been here with PCPS. And when Mr. Farmer was hired, I was in HR. We called him in for an interview. Mr. Farmer, as far as I know it, you are the only teacher we have hired on the spot. Did the interview, made the offer right there on the spot. So we've added him really carefully, and we were glad to have him. He's a true team player and a master music teacher. In his years at West, he not only built his own program, but also helped out in both band and orchestra when needed. And Mr. Farmer is moving to a different state, and you are going to continue to teach, aren't you?
I'm hoping so, yes, that's correct. Yep.
I bet they hire you on the spot. Thanks for your service, Mr. Farmer. Okay, next I want to recognize Jennifer Fenton. She is not here tonight. She's taught in Oklahoma for 15 years, and all of her years have been with PCPS. Jennifer was hired to teach English as part of the East Middle School family. When she was hired, she was unaware of the extra special duties she would begin serving and continued to monitor throughout her tenure at East. You see, her room is right next door to the boys' bathroom. So her duty is being the boys' restroom door monitor, counting the unusual number of boys who would venture into the loo at the same time. So Jennifer is one of these people who helps other people without a second's notice. She's even taken other teachers' students into her own classroom if they're sick. And if you remember, we suffered a loss of a coworker and a dear friend at East Middle School this year. And even though it was a difficult thing to do, Jennifer and another teacher carefully and lovingly packed up the friend's classroom. So we're going to miss Jennifer's service. Next we have Rob Fry, and he's not here, and everybody calls him Coach. And Coach is a true storyteller, especially when it involves fishing. And Mr. Riley, you don't have any fishing tales, do you, ever? Coach Fry has been a staple in PCPS athletics for 20 years. When a need arises, Coach always steps up to the challenge. He will be missed by many throughout the department. And Coach Fry's signature saying, doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing, he'll look at you and say, keep smiling. Okay, I'm trying. So we will certainly miss Coach Fry. He's been an educator for 37 years and 21 years with PCPS. Terry Fry, she's not here either, is she? Okay. Terry is a transportation bus driver. She's been with us for 21 years. She drove a special needs bus, and one of her favorite things to do was to go to her bus riders' after-school activities. So that tells you the dedication of not only our certified staff, but our support staff. She was very involved in her students' Special Olympic events, so we will certainly miss Terry. Next we have Miss Liz Glaser. So Liz has 33 years of experience with the child nutrition department, and all 33 years have been with PCPS. And do I ever have some stories? Liz is the ultimate CMP warrior, a true advocate for what's best for kids. Her mark on the child nutrition program is not just local, but also on the state and national level as well. She's known for giving people pet names. Her humor and having fun was constantly to ease tough situations. She could celebrate a staff member's birthday as well as her own with class and humor and an occasional incident. There are stories that will just have to remain in CNP because most of the time what happens in CNP stays in CNP. And many of the people involved are no longer with us, so we're not going to tell those stories. In late April, Liz was surprised and honored with the FFA Blue Jacket for all of her work with the organization over the years. We are fortunate to have had Liz in our district for over 30 years. Thanks, Liz, for your service. We appreciate you. Next, we have Mary Jo Haynes. She's in CMP, but she is not here tonight. Mary Jo Haynes is a longtime, valuable, and faithful staff member of the Ponca City Child Nutrition Program. She's been at Roosevelt for 15 years. For the past several years, Mary Jo has not only worked on the Roosevelt serving line, but she also works full-time as security with P66. And we tease her and tell her her training feeding children has trained her well for being security at P66. Rumor also has it that Mary Jo likes to sing a lot and was active in music at Poe High. Now, before Mary Jo retired, she did mention that scratch-off lottery tickets have caused her to work longer than she had planned to. So thank goodness for scratch-off lottery tickets. Okay, Betty Hill with CMP. I don't think Betty's here. All of her 10 years have been at Liberty Elementary. She has great work ethic, is a great site leader and a trainer, and pays attention to details. Betty can be counted on to keep things running smoothly and keep her kitchen spotless. She will be missed, and she's already cross-trained her coworker to take care of things just as she would. So congratulations to Betty. Christy Jennings. Christy has been a bus driver for 24 years. She is a second-generation PCPS school bus driver. Christy's mother, Mary Lou Jennings, worked for Ponca City Public Schools for 31 years, driving a bus most of the time, and then as a bus assistant. So the total time with the family is approximately 55 years driving a Ponca City school bus. One of the things Christy enjoyed the most was taking Ag on their annual trip to Oklahoma City for the state FFA convention. So we appreciate Christy's service. Next, we have Ms. Mindy Littlecook, and she is here. She is the art teacher or one of the art teachers at Ponca City High School. And rumor has it that you prepped a student this year on how to negotiate their pricing for their artwork. Okay, this student exercised that advice and he sold his artwork for $200. Wow. He was all smiles until Miss Littlecook told him that she got 30% commission. She really didn't take it. They settled for a good laugh. And then last year, one of our principals at Poe High implemented the Native American Heritage Club. And Ms. Littlecook, you stepped up to become the sponsor. She wasn't just a sponsor in name. She actively took the reins of the ceiling project and kept it alive through COVID and our protocols that we put in place this year. She found a way to make sure every student who wanted a ceiling tile to paint would have all the supplies he or she needed to complete it from home, as well as educating each student on Native American art. Ms. Littlecook is one of those teachers that you say, it will be tough around here when she leaves. Thank you for your service, Mindy. We appreciate you. Next, we have Miss Julie Logan from Lincoln Elementary. 31 years as an Oklahoma educator and 31 years with PCPS. And Julie, don't get mad at me, I'm just the messenger. Once before parent-teacher conferences, she was using the cutting board in her closet to cut a thick stack of papers. Well, it was a little too thick, so she leaned into it, putting her weight on the handle, and she cut a circle in the most awkward place on her shirt. So she had to have conferences with a straight face and a folder covering her shirt. Your friends at Lincoln will certainly miss you and your calm and even demeanor. And you also were a teacher of one of our board members, Miss Anna Rowland. So, Julie, we appreciate your service and dedication to the students of PCPS. Thanks for all you do. Next, we have Rhonda Merrifield. She is the current retiring principal from Roosevelt Elementary. And Rhonda, your staff came out in droves with stories. 33 years of experience in Oklahoma, and 20 of those have been with PCPS. There was one time when one of your teachers went to pick up his fifth grade students from the cafeteria. The closer he got to the cafeteria, the noise level continued to increase. The entire walk he was thinking about how he was going to address proper lunch behavior. I turned the final corner and discovered the source of all the noise. Rhonda was arm wrestling with the fifth grader. One teacher said, I liked flamingos, however, Miss Merrifield caused my like of them to escalate out of control. One morning during Reveille, Miss Merrifield was talking to the students about unusual names for groups of animals: a crash of rhinoceros, a parliament of owls, a congress of baboons, and a flamboyance of flamingos. She discussed each word and what the descriptive word meant. After determining the meaning of the word flamboyant, she asked if there was a Roosevelt teacher who the kids thought was flamboyant, and they all pointed to the art teacher. So about 350 teachers at once, and if you go to Roosevelt, Flossie the Flamingo is painted on the cafeteria wall, and it changes decorations with the season. Okay, just one more. I was a first-time FFA goat grandma and so proud of our grand goat, Forrest. He was an awful mess only a grandma could love. However, no one had explained to me that what Forrest's fate was after showing season. When in came Rhonda to the rescue, she bought Forrest so he could go live on our farm. Now, getting Rhonda to get Forrest home was the interesting part. He came to rodeo day at Roosevelt and was on his way to living in our office, but he did get a ride home to your house. Here are some favorite Rhonda-isms. What is best for kids is not always easiest for adults. If we all don't row, the boat won't go. If it is to be, it's up to me. And the final favorite Rhonda-ism, this is a molehill, not a mountain. Rhonda, we appreciate your service, and you've served our children well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Dawn Mills, and she is the assistant principal at Lincoln Elementary. Dawn and her lead principal, Liz, have had a couple of good laughs lately because they say they're getting to the age that they forget things. One of them will tell the other to remind them about something, and then that person forgets what they were to remind them of. So Dawn always gets a good laugh from staff when she has car duty in the rain. They say that when she comes in, she looks like a drowned rat. So she served in many duties here with PCPS, and she's actually coming back as a contract sub next year. Thanks for your service, Dawn. Okay, Julie Ray is not here, but she served as 9 years as the financial secretary at Pohai. Julie was the in-house cruise travel agent. She was always a great person to get tips on cruises because that was her favorite thing to do. Maybe she's not here tonight because she's planning her next cruise. We appreciate Julie's service. Next, we have Doris Rowe with CMP. Here's Doris. Okay, Doris, I had to laugh out loud this weekend when I was typing this up, so get ready. Thank your supervisor, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm afraid. Very afraid.
Doris has served in many capacities with the Child Nutrition Program as a site manager and CMP secretary at 2 sites. If you know Doris, you know she's loud. This works well in the school setting, as when Doris speaks, everyone listens, even if they don't want to. As a manager, she traveled to Oklahoma School Nutrition Association events, and on one occasion was offering unneeded assistance to Chef Jeff on locating a destination. So after several commands on directions by Doris, Jeff pulled the vehicle over and turned around to Doris in the back seat and sang the song, I'm Not Nani. He sang it to the tune of I'm Not Lisa, and Nani is Doris's husband. So everyone in the vehicle was very quiet for a few minutes, and then everyone burst out laughing. Later that evening, Doris, still being a little hurt from the song, placed her chopsticks from dinner to hold her hair up in a bun. And she got caught in the revolving door by the chopsticks. There was a song for that event too. What was it, Jeff? Or can you share?
And I was told to shut up.
Doris is fun-loving and dedicated to the children of Ponca City Public Schools. And Doris, we're going to miss your humor. We need a little laugh around here once in a while. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Dolores Schultz, and she teaches special education, mathematics at East Middle School. She's been a teacher for 38 years and with PCPS for 37 years. One of your colleagues said during the talent shows, Dolores always did the planning for the silly skits. The favorite skit is of her being an East nun with the Sister Act song. Can you perform for us tonight? Okay, one thing that your colleagues notice is that you always keep your pens and pencils on your lanyard, and anytime we would have a PLC, someone would ask for a pencil, they would know that you would have it on your lanyard. She'd always say, I have one. So they could always count on Dolores to provide something to write with when needed. And everybody's mad at you, Dolores, this year for actually retiring because you have been saying for multiple years that you are going to retire. And do you know no one believed you again this year? So everyone was a bit mad when they found out she was not joking. Dolores, thanks for your service. We appreciate all you've done. Next, we have Terry Schultz. Terry's not here. She's been employed for 30 years with the district. Terry has driven 3 different bus routes over her career. The last 15 years, she served as a special needs bus driver on the wheelchair bus. Terry said the last 15 years were her most rewarding years, so we will certainly miss Terry. Next, we have Paula Sneed. She's been with the district for 16 years. Paula Sneed is a funny, kind, and hardworking custodian. She likes to give the maintenance men a hard time, especially Neil Lamb, who deserves it. Why does Neil deserve it, Paula?
You never know what he's going to do.
That's true. She's very good at planning and getting buildings cleaned for the students and staff. She has helped out in several areas where we have been shorthanded. You will be missed so much, Paula. Thanks for all you've done for our district. Next, we have Janetta Swanson. And I had to ask Janetta Swanson if Janetta was going to be offended if we shared this. I had to ask her daughter, Shelby, if she was going to be offended if we shared. And Shelby said you weren't, so blame Shelby. Okay, so the first story is Janetta had a 3:30 appointment at Trout on her calendar. So she and her partner, Speech Path, could not figure out any idea what was happening at Trout at 3:30. So they called over to Trout, and they both checked their IEP schedules, and nothing was there. And Trout said, "We have nothing on our schedule." And then Janetta later realized her 3:30 appointment at Trout was for Trout Funeral Home. She was meeting with them to do pre-arrangements for her hopefully long time off funeral. That was a pretty good one. This year, Janetta discovered the tech world of Zoom. There was a time when she waited for the team members to join an IEP meeting and then realized she gave the wrong Zoom info and they were all waiting on her. The struggle is still real for her remembering how to sign the Zoom forms and where did they get stored after hitting save. So, and another fun time was in a Google Meets during distance learning when one of your students showed up in a Google Meets for speech in only her underwear. And a few of the students were trying to eat while doing speech. That didn't work out too well. And the students that wanted to give house tours, even when the parents and we would say, "No, not now." So you've seen it all, and we appreciate your service, Janetta. She's been an Oklahoma educator for 20 years and with PCPS for 18 years. So thanks for all you do. Congratulations. Next, we have Nancy Van Zant, and I see she's here. So hello, Miss Nancy, how are you? She has 15 years as a public school speech therapist. She's worked in a hospital setting, and she's been with our district for about 7.5 years. And she goes to multiple schools, so she had multiple people giving us stories. Nancy is always forgetting or losing her keys. It is not uncommon for her to timidly appear in Mr. Williams' office at Woodlands and say, "May I borrow your keys to get into my office?" Staff members recall many times when they walk into her office to find her frantically looking for something. "What's wrong?" they would ask. "I can't find my keys again," she will mutter. Recently, she lost her only key to her IEP filing cabinet. She finally had to submit a tracket to request the lock be drilled out and a new one installed. The good news is that while she was tearing apart her office looking for the filing cabinet key, you found your hearing aid you lost a couple of years ago. I'm sorry, I just had to laugh when I was doing that one. Students love her speech lessons so much that they are often quite upset when they learn they have graduated from speech services and can no longer go to her room regularly. The pain is lessened because you always throw a graduation party for your students when they meet all their speech goals. And this came from the Garfield principal. You have to know Nancy, she's just the sweetest, most timid thing ever. One day the principal was calling someone at the board office and Nancy jokingly said, "Are you calling them to tell them how rambunctious I am?" And the principal said, "Yes, that is the reason I'm calling the board. You're just running all over the school and you are too much for me to handle." Both Ms. Thomason and Nancy got a big laugh out of that. So Nancy, we appreciate your time with us, and when we lose our keys, we'll think about you. Thanks for all you do. And I think that's it, but I want to recognize two more. Carla Webb, 23 years, Central Admin Business Department Activity Clerk. Carla, if you heard a shriek in this office, you knew it was Carla because she was easily spooked. So if somebody screamed, we knew that something scared Carla. You just had to mention you needed help with a project or coverage for someone that was absent, and Carla was always there to help out. Carla is enjoying spending time with her two grandchildren that live in Stillwater, and her husband Steve just purchased a pontoon boat a couple of years ago and enjoy going to Lake Ponca and Call Lake to relax and fish. So maybe they're on the lake tonight. Finally, the final retiree is Paula White, high school math, 35 years as an educator, 32 years with PCPS. She's an amazing math teacher. She was even willing to give up her advanced math courses and teach freshman Algebra 1 a few years ago to give them the best foundational understanding possible. While we were on distance learning, she really missed her students, and she often jokes about the only person that she had to talk to was her plant in her classroom, and I think it thrived. She talked to it so much. So just so you know, 620 years of service to students of Oklahoma and other states in the nation, and 564 of these years of service have been with PCPS. Retirement's well-deserved for these employees, and we thank them for their selfless service to the students of PCPS. Final comment, once a Wildcat, always a Wildcat. Paula White was your teacher too?
Across the street. I know it.
Okay. Presentation of Employee of the Month and Friends of Education Awards. Certified Employee of the Month, Special Education Teacher at Woodlands Elementary, Lindsay Wilburn.
Woodlands Elementary School is proud that Lindsay Wilburn will be recognized as a Certified Employee of the Month for May 2021. Ms. Wilburn is certainly deserving of this award. Lindsay first came to Woodlands several years ago as a Title I assistant. Next year, she stepped into the role of resource room teacher. In addition to serving Woodlands, she serves students at the Pre-K Center one day a week. She loves interacting with students and colleagues, and she leads meetings with parents with great skill and professionalism. Her students are very important to her. Not only does she help them grow academically, she also gets to know her students and their families. She assists teachers with students' experience academic or behavior challenges by providing ideas and interventions as needed. Ms. Wilburn helps other SPED teachers in the district stay in compliance with special education law, paperwork, and deadlines. If there are resources she needs, she finds a way to acquire them. As an extra bonus, she is an RN. So we call her into action if we need some guidance with student illnesses or injuries. Her calm demeanor lends a sense of it's going to be okay in the middle of the challenging situations. Lindsay is a great joy to work with. We're lucky to have her on the Woodlands team. We are deeply grateful for all she does. Congratulations to Lindsay Wilbur on her selection as the May 2021 Certified Employee of the Month for the Ponca City Public Schools.
We had an extra Certified Employee of the Month this month. It was a surprise. Go ahead.
Okay, Certified Employee of the Month, Executive Director of Human Resources, Mr. Curtis Layton.
The Ponca City Board of Education takes great pleasure in recognizing Curtis Layton as the May Certified Employee of the Month. Curtis is the district's Executive Director of Human Resources and TLE. Like many, Curtis's role this year took a very dramatic shift. What sets Curtis apart is his ability to calmly handle his normally very busy role as HR Director on top of another full-time role keeping track of COVID cases and quarantines. Curtis has an ability to make everyone around him feel comfortable and important. Anytime called upon, he is positive and happy to help wherever he can. Curtis had to be made available every evening and weekend, and he did so without hesitation. Last school year, Curtis volunteered to mentor a student. He went to visit him every week. COVID has restricted such visits this year, but knowing Curtis and the busy person he is, he still took time to volunteer. Curtis, in recognition of your dedicated service, it's a privilege to present you with this award and congratulate you on your selection as May 2021 Certified Employee of the Month.
And he is the COVID Batman. We had him put his Batman mask on for this.
I wondered.
So Curtis isn't here tonight, so.
Okay. Support Employee of the Month, Title I Teacher Assistant at Liberty Elementary, Wanda Morgan.
Miss Morgan is a treasure at Liberty Elementary. As a Title I assistant, she meets with students who need that extra help to close their reading gap. However, she does so much more than that. She assists in the cafeteria daily, fills in for recess duty when needed, and loves subbing for PE when coverage is needed. She is a gem that staff and students alike adore. Things her colleagues said about her were, Wanda cares for our students. Every day she works hard to help them grow. She is my favorite Title I assistant. She gives me feedback on my students she works with so I can better help my students to grow. She also has a very positive attitude when working with students. She's kind and always takes time to listen to students about their needs as well as their knowledge. Another coworker wrote that Miss Morgan is always putting the students first no matter what. She is very flexible with anything that I ask her. For these reasons and many more, we are proud that Mrs. Morgan is being recognized as the May Support Employee of the Month. Congratulations.
Next is Friends of Education, supporters of Ponca City Public School, Phillips 66 and Bart Snyder.
Phillips 66 and Bart Snyder are the Ponca City Public Schools Friends of Education for the month of May. Mr. Snyder reached out to the district and offered to vaccinate the remainder of our staff for COVID. Mr. Snyder and his team organized several clinics. With their help, we were able to offer vaccinations to the Ponca City Public Schools employees who wanted to be vaccinated. Their generosity not only benefited the employees who were vaccinated, but benefited all students in the Ponca City Public Schools. Because these employees are vaccinated, they are exempt from quarantine, allowing our students more access to qualified staff during the pandemic. Words are not enough to express the gratitude and appreciation our school has for their generosity. Thank you, Phillips 66 and Bart Snyder.
Any comments from the public? I don't see Betty.
I don't think so.
Nope, okay. Next is Superintendent Report with potential board discussion and action.
Okay, so I'll do just a little bit of a legislative update, and I'm gonna need my glasses, and I'm gonna move away so I can pull my mask down and my glasses don't fog up. So first of all, I'll talk to you a little bit about some legislation to watch. It's the Red Bud School Funding Act, and this apportions certain tax dollars to a state public common school building equalization fund that can be used for public schools and public charters to use as building funds, but it excludes virtual public charters. And if you remember, the State Board of Education actually settled a lawsuit on March 25th in a 4-3 decision to adopt a resolution to equalize funding between public schools and charter schools. and thereby settle a lawsuit between the Oklahoma Public Charter School Association and the State Board of Education. And let me tell you a little bit about where we are with the judicial process. So last Friday, which was May the 7th, I believe, 187 school districts with over 400,000 students across 64 of Oklahoma's 77 counties filed a petition seeking a declaratory judgment against the State Board of Education to stop implementation of this decision on July 1, which will affect our building funds, our REA, our county form mill, our motor vehicle, our GPT. The oral presentation goes to the court is scheduled for June the 2nd of 2021. And we, as you know, our board voted to join in that lawsuit, and I heard from our attorney at RFR, and because that the hearing, the declaratory judgment that is coming up to be heard on June 2nd, 2021 is a positive. So the whole premise behind the lawsuit is that the legislature decides how public funds are allocated to public schools. So there's where we are on that. And the legislation process, as far as Senate Bill 229, it's waiting action in the Senate, and it would actually create a multi-million-dollar building fund for school buildings for all schools that are traditionally receive less than the average to little or no building fund. And the State Department of Education estimates that there are 309 traditional schools that earn below the state average for their building fund, and all 25 charter schools in Oklahoma fall below the state average. Now, even though we are above the state average on the building fund, we would be held harmless. So none of our money would be taken away if the Redbud School Funding Act passed. And here's a little bit of the criteria. Charters authorized by the statewide virtual board are not eligible. And if it's a regular charter, 2/3 of a charter school students must receive in-person or blended instruction to be eligible for funds from Senate Bill 229. So we are watching that closely, even though it will help us because it will hold us harmless rather than taking our building funds, but we won't get additional dollars because we are above the average in our building fund mill levies. Here's some legislation involving school boards. This is a moot point, but earlier in the session, it was authorized for virtual meetings of public bodies to go ahead and take place till sometime in February of 2022, or until the governor terminated the state of emergency. And as you know, on May 3rd, the governor did terminate the state of emergency, so that means no school boards. That means school boards must resume in-person meetings no later than June 3rd. So what that tells you is unless we have a special meeting that needs to be virtual, we will be in person. So we don't have that option anymore. Here's another one. This is a good one. It raises the thresholds for competitive bidding requirements, and this is for public construction contracts. It raises the amount from $50,000 to $100,000, and the limit that may be negotiated with a qualified contractor is raised $5,000 to $10,000. And actually, this has already been signed by the governor, and the effective date is November 1, 2021. So we're excited about that. Senate Bill 807 authorizes support employees to receive pay for any lost time due to their school being ordered closed by a health officer or closed because of an epidemic. And if you remember, when we closed, we had to approve that our support people went ahead and got paid because they're hourly employees. So now there's legislation out there that's been signed into law, and the effective date is July 1, 2021. And we hope that we do not have a mandatory school closure. We have one testing mandate that's been removed. It repeals the Reading Proficiency Act, or the requirement that a student has to pass the 8th grade ELA assessment in order to attain their driver's license. So they no longer have to do that. That was actually passed and signed into law on April 26th and became effective on the same day that it was signed into law. Here's a possible mandate that we're watching. Senate Bill 658 establishes requirements regarding immunizations and mask mandates. So the bill says that any public school has to put this notification on their website or any press releases that come out about immunizations. For school enrollment, a parent or a guardian shall provide one of the following: current, up-to-date immunization records, or a completed and signed exemption form. Like for religious purposes, there is a form that can exclude requirements for vaccinations. A little bit more about who can prescribe the duties of which vaccines our children take. It now is going to the State Commissioner of Health from the State Board of Health. The bill addresses all required immunizations based on the list approved by the legislature. And just so you know, COVID is not a required immunization at this point. So there's nothing COVID related to post at this time. Now, I'm hearing from the State Commissioner of Health that it could be at one time. I spoke with an epidemiologist this past week in depth from the State Department of Health, and she told me that immunizations are going to be available for 12 to 15-year-olds in June. So we will see. Now, also, there's a committee substitute for Senate Bill 658, which prohibits a school board or a technology center from implementing a mask mandate unless they have consulted with the local county or city-county health departments. Any mask mandate must also provide specific purposes for the mandate, or it will be invalidated. And I didn't put this in the info, but the bill goes on to say that we will have to put mask mandate discussions on our board agenda every month. And if somebody can bring 3 researched white papers that say why we shouldn't have a mask mandate, we have to give up the mask mandate. So let me tell you the status on this. It's passed the House floor. It needs the House committee substitute and House amendments to be accepted and passed on the Senate floor, and then it will go to the governor. So I will let you know on that. Some more bills addressing teacher shortage. I talked to you about this before. This is if a candidate has an advanced degree in a subject that's comparable to something they will be teaching. They do not have to take the Oklahoma subject area test. That did pass. It was signed into law on April 28th, 2021, and it became effective on the day it was signed into a law. This is one that will help us, I think, in the future. We don't have anyone, well, we have some that are sitting out this year. It could help us next year. Allows retired educators who have received benefits for at least 1 year and who have not been employed by a public school during that time are eligible to be reemployed as a teacher with no limitations on earnings. Currently, they can come back to work after 60 days and have limitations on their earnings, or sit out for 3 years and come back with no limitations on their earnings. So the teacher shortage is real, so this will help hopefully get our retired teachers back in.
Is that employed in any capacity or just?
Yes, any capacity. You cannot be employed by a public school, even as a substitute.
Okay.
So this actually was signed into law by the governor, and that will take effect on July 1. So if any of our teachers that retired last year want to come back, we can hire them back and pay them full salary if they haven't worked for us or any other public school. Senate Bill 51 is dormant. It removes the requirement to pass the OGET for an alternative placement. Nothing's changed on that. So I want to give you a staffing report for PCPS. Currently, there are over 700 open teaching positions in Oklahoma. And there's a statute out there that a teacher has to let a school district know if they are resigning within 15 days of the first Monday of June. And I don't even know what that date is, but it's late. It's like June 17th. So here we are. It is May 10th, and we've had a lot of positions turnover. So here are our unfilled certified positions. At Garfield, we need a 3rd grade teacher. At Lincoln Elementary, we need a counselor. At Union Elementary, we need a 1st grade teacher and a special education teacher. Now, we got rumor today that we may have another resignation at Lincoln Elementary, so that could be one that we're adding to the mix. At Washington Pre-K, we need 1 pre-K teacher. At Woodlands Elementary, we need a 2nd grade teacher. We need an elementary music teacher. At our secondary schools, at West Middle School, we need a geography teacher. We need a 6th grade science teacher. At East Middle School, we need an English teacher. At Ponca City High School, we need a science teacher, a special education teacher, a social studies teacher, actually 2 social studies teachers, an athletic trainer, and a dean of students. We have an offer on the table to the dean of students, so that one could be coming off. At Wildcat Academy, we need 1 teacher. At Ponca City Virtual Academy, we need 1 secondary teacher. So as you know, we're reducing our numbers on PCVA, and we've pulled those teachers back into positions that are open. But those are the unfilled at sites. Now, we have some unfilled district certified positions. We have 2 SLP positions, and if as you remembered, you all have approved some contracts for some SLPs for some contract companies to help us find those. We've got 2, is that right, Amy? Now, we do have some banked positions. Simply that means we've hired a teacher, but we haven't placed them out of sight. So we have 1 special education teacher banked. We think we know where that person's going. We have 1 social studies teacher banked, and remember we have 2 openings at the high school, and we have 1 elementary education teacher banked. So here's our totals. Currently, that's as of this 10 seconds, literally, we have 21 openings minus 3 banked employees, so we have 17 openings on May the 10th. We have hired 21 new hires since we have been receiving resignations, so probably started around spring break. So we have 39 certified retirements or resignations, and if I reminded you that we expected that. With our retirees, we had a lot of retirees. This is a 3-year high after the historic pay raise. And TRS, Oklahoma Teacher Retirement System, is based on your 3 highest year salaries. So we expected a lot of retirements. This was a big one for us. We had 9 administrators change of status, resignation, or retirement. They've all been filled. 5 were with internal candidates that left us holes, and 4 were external candidates. So, any questions about staffing and where we are? So Jennifer has her work cut out for her. COVID update. Quickly, here's our risk level. You can see that it's been going down in Kake County. We were at 2.6 on May the 4th. And we were up a bit the first week of May compared to the first week of April. We had 0 positive cases. And this week we had 3 that affected a total of 73 students. Here's our percentage who are out. We have 2.2% out at Poe High, 27 kids. This is as of 5:07. Guys, it changed today. So I had to calculate on Friday. East has 10 students out. West Middle School has 35 students out. And Washington Pre-K has 1. It's a family close contact. Now, I will tell you, most of those kids at Poe High, East Middle School, and West Middle School come back tomorrow. Their return date is May the 11th. So with that being said, we really want to cross the finish line and have our kids at school. So I would like to make a COVID restriction proposal effective tomorrow if the board so approves. The proposal is for you to consider adopting the governor's close contact quarantine guidelines effective 5/11 due to reduced COVID-19 alert risk levels in the county and the state, and to get our students across the finish line on May 21. We have 9 days after today to get there, and we've got lots of activities coming up. If you'll remember, the governor put out the proposal in January when our risk levels were upwards of 140, and PCPS safety protocols followed CDC guidelines, and we stuck with those. So for the last 10 days, I want you to consider some points of the governor's proposal in January. This policy was not mandatory for schools. We had the ability to decide whether to implement this policy or continue with the current plan. We had no desire to do that in January with risk levels of 130 to 140. Each week in January, our risk level was over 100. Risk level decreases began in February, but hovered around 50 until spring break, and then they've gone significantly lower. We opted to continue with CDC guidelines for the protection of our students and staff, and our original safety plan followed CDC guidelines. So here are the criteria. The guidance is similar to CDC guidance for essential workers. And basically, students or staff in a classroom setting or a classroom-like setting where masking is required will not have to quarantine. Classroom-like settings are settings that are supervised and masking is required. So it's still federal law on public transportation to wear a mask, so our students still have to wear a mask on a bus. Anything that is not your own vehicle is public transportation. So if they're in the classroom and we require masks, we will not quarantine if you approve these guidelines. Classroom settings do not extend to strenuous activities or other circumstances likely to result in increased production of respiratory droplets, such as sports. In our music classes, they are masked up and they are way more than 6 feet apart. But in sports, we do not require masking. So,
Does that include gym class? Does that include gym class too? Okay.
exposures occurring in the following settings will still require quarantine from school. And these are the governor's guidance. Household exposures. And I will tell you, we had a positive case today that did not result in a contact trace. The student was not at school on Friday, so you go back 48 hours, so we didn't have a contact trace, but we had 14 students whose parents or grandparents tested positive, and they live in the same household. There's probably about 4 families. One family had 5 kids, one family had 4 kids living in the household. So it affected 14 kids. If you approve this tonight, we can't call those kids back because theirs was a household setting. And our 70-something that are out currently come back tomorrow anyway. So if you approve this, we won't have to call them back. And we would if it were approved. Now, it goes without saying, a positive case still requires isolation for 10 days. Now, of those 14 kids that were household close contacts, 2 of them were PO-high kids. I do not know. I haven't had time to look to see if they're a junior or a senior. But they are out for the remainder of the year. And that's by order of the health department. They issue the quarantines and isolations. So, here's some validation to move to the governor's January guidance. Risk levels are the lowest since school started. We have had 1 close contact become a case since March 1. It was an outside close contact too. So we have no evidence that COVID is spreading in school. The guidance allows school districts the ability to make decisions about quarantines for students and staff that best suits our needs. Now, one thing that I want to show you, these are the original protocols that you approved in September 14th of 2020. If you'll look where the arrow is, where face covering strongly recommended in buildings, if we get to the green level, our current policy says that it's strongly recommended for staff and students and visitors to wear a mask, but if you approve these guidelines, that will not approve them from being exempt from close contact quarantine. So here's some green level mask guidance. Our current safety protocols state that masks are strongly recommended, not required if we reach the green level. If the new proposal is adopted and K County moves to the green level, our students would have to quarantine if masks are not required. So I'm not sure we're going to move to the green level. We have 2 more Wednesdays, this Wednesday and the next Wednesday. So if we were to move to the green level, here would be the recommendation. To expand the possibility that our juniors and seniors are not quarantined on prom or graduation, the request for consideration would be to strongly recommend that pre-K through 8th graders wear masks and require 9th through 12th graders to wear the mask if K County reaches the green level. That would keep our kids from being quarantined at prom and graduation. So any questions, comments, or discussion about the proposal?
Can you go back to the other screen so I can read? Thank you.
Which one?
No, the very last one, second to last, sorry. Just the, when you said
With the
juniors
white
and
at the bottom.
seniors.
That one?
Nope, keep on
The
going.
very last one.
Another one? Another one? Sorry, another one.
Oh,
Was
not
it-
backwards, forwards.
You're going the wrong way.
Oh, sorry.
Go forward?
Yeah, it's the
Sorry.
very last slide that you.
Very
Yes,
last
very
slide,
last
okay.
slide before.
Okay.
Showed us.
Sorry.
Sorry about that.
No, I was saying yes, 'cause I couldn't see it.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
If we get to the green level, we would allow our pre-K through 8th graders to wear masks as strongly recommended or optionally wear masks. But if we say that at the high school and we have a close contact tracing investigation, we will have to quarantine those kids. And guys, they're not going to make it. It's 10 days unless they test early. So if they test early after day 5, they can come back on day 8. So after Wednesday, there's really no point. They won't make it back for graduation. And I say 9 through 12th graders because we have 9 through 12th graders in the same class, same classes. So if one of them,
I think the real key here, Nancy, is we're trying to keep the high school kids from being quarantined, missing graduation and prom. Even if you go to the green, they would still be quarantined if they don't wear a mask. Correct?
correct.
Okay, but wearing the mask,
Keeps them from being
If
quarantined.
you approve
If-
this
With
proposal.
the governor's proposal,
okay.
not the CDC, but with the
Not the
governor.
business as
CDC, the
usual.
governors, just for the last 9 days.
So wearing masks, you will not get quarantined unless it's the household has nothing to do with us, but.
Household has nothing to do with it. If you're living in the same household, the health department will issue a quarantine. I have talked to the state epidemiologist, our local K County Health Department director, and they will work with us on this. But if it happens in sports, and I have urged A.D. Levitt to let his coaches know, if we have seniors, put them up in the bleachers with a mask. Outside, we do a good job of staying
Actually,
more
it should
than
be
6
juniors
feet.
and seniors.
Juniors and seniors,
Because
if
of
you
the
want
prom.
to, if you want to count prom.
Yeah. I think I'm all for this through the end of this school year. I don't think we want to carry this over into next school year.
Yet, right.
This would only be through the 21st, or end of school, the 21st.
9 more days.
Yeah.
We have summer school, and I have talked to lots of schools, and most everyone is removing the mask mandate requirement on the last day of school or June 1st. And it looks like that summer school is just statewide is strongly recommended, and we have to have that verbiage in for our CARES money. We'll pay for summer school with our CARES money, and we have to keep that verbiage in. But there's only like 15 in the class, and Terry has met with the teachers, and they're going to be 6 feet apart. So there should not be a reason to quarantine. We're not going to have classrooms with 25 and 30.
Will they have to wear a mask in the summer?
Strongly recommended.
But they won't quarantine,
If they're more than 6 feet. And we're gonna make
with
it
or
a
without
point,
mask.
either way. That's the CDC guidance. 6 feet or less for 15 minutes or more requires a quarantine with or without mask. Now,
So in summer school, we still wouldn't be going by, that it's strongly recommended that we run into green?
yeah, no, we would. That's our board policy.
Okay, so we're still saying in summer school, they're wearing them unless we're green.
I would say no. I would say that not many other schools are strongly recommending. Even Edmond, Stillwater. But if they're more than 6 feet apart, they will be exempt from a quarantine.
I think we need to separate summer school from the end of the school year on whatever motion we decide.
Okay?
Two separate issues. I'm not sure we need to wear a mask in the summer.
When does summer school start?
First week in June.
When's the board meeting?
later, but we can say that we can,
We could have another board meeting.
you could grant me the authority to make that decision too.
I think we need to separate the two issues to make sure that we do one issue to get through the end of the school year, then we can address what we want to do at summer school.
Or just grant her the authority
I
for the summer school.
have a question on the mask mandates. Is it, I mean, they're done to prevent COVID from being spread and not necessarily, I mean, it helps with all the all the rules. You guys said all these before when I wasn't here, so catching up.
Yeah, we followed CDC guidance.
Okay, so it was all
recommendations.
done by CDC guidance, but now Governor Stitt is separate from CDC's?
Yes, he
But it would
actually-
make it where we got to the rest of the year and then.
Right, he proposed that actually in January, and we opted not to go that way because our risk level was so high, and we were quarantining
Yeah.
300 and 400 kids a week.
Yeah, yeah, I remember.
And we still didn't even have all of our teachers vaccinated, or the ones that wanted to be vaccinated. Now, you know, our teachers are exempt if they're fully vaccinated from quarantine. And that's CDC guidance.
So, well, like what Nancy was just saying, we could just grant the authority to do that, just keep it, or why can't we keep it like this until, through the summer? Like if we voted to do this?
We could, I'm
What's the
telling
numbers
you.
in summer school by grade level? Pre-K through 8 versus 9 through 12?
There's going to be 215 students at Lincoln, kindergarten through fifth grade.
15 in a class,
How many pre-K through 8?
K through 8,
K through 8.
200.
200
200?
something.
8-5, 215.
And how many 9 through 12?
Sixth and seventh, there are 52, and there are 12 from East Middle School, and then we're going to be less than probably 75 at the high school. We're still working on those numbers, but it should be less than 75 at the high school.
How many in a
Some
class?
will be at Wildcat Academy, and some will be at the high school. The average class size will be 12 to 15 at for 6th and 7th grade, and then 12 for 8th grade.
I don't know of any schools, and we talk all the time, that are carrying it beyond June 1st. Some are ending the mask mandate at the end of the year, and a lot are caving now on the mask mandate. They're saying no mask at the yellow level, which has made it hard on the
If
rest of
they're doing
us.
that, they're going against CDC.
Right. They're following the governor's guidelines, and if you go back to that legislation I shared, they're making it where we can't follow CDC if that's approved. We follow our local and our state health department and our risk levels.
So we're running the risk, if we do it the other way, then we're running the risk of a bunch of kids in the summer not getting to finish their summer school. What would that mean for their next year?
Well, they're already at a learning loss, but I mean.
Would they have to do
we'll make
distance
sure
learning,
that
or-
our kids, they still don't have to quarantine if they're more than 6 feet away,
Okay.
even.
And with
in-
12 to 15, you could,
Right, and in an elementary classroom, now they'll tell us to quarantine the whole classroom. We had a situation at the high school, it was a testing situation, it was a 3-hour-long testing period, and we had a student in there that was positive, and we talked to our local health department director, and she didn't make us quarantine everybody. It was anybody that was less than 6 feet because our risk level was so low.
Nancy, I still think we're getting hung up on summer school.
Oh, no,
versus-
I'm giving that to her. That's what I want to do.
I think we need to worry about the end of the school year.
Yes.
Get it resolved, then turn attention to summer
Yes.
school.
So what we're saying is, we need to make a
I'll make that
motion.
motion,
To do what?
what she wants to do.
The one that's on the screen?
Yeah,
Well, now, that's only if we go to green. Hey, I've been thinking we would go to green any day now, but.
no, I'm
it's
just saying
not
what you
happening.
wanted to originally,
Through the end of the school year.
through this end of the school year.
May 21st.
Right.
In
Okay,
essence, follow the governor's requirements
for
to
close
change our
contact.
policy
Right.
so that we won't have to quarantine high
Correct.
school kids
Yes.
through the 21st of November.
So
Yes.
wearing a mask, we will not have to quarantine.
Right.
Correct.
Correct. But we will still be wearing masks at school, but you just will not get quarantined.
If
you're
we're in a
home.
classroom setting, now if they're in sports or they're
Correct.
close contact at home, we got a whole nother ballgame.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay,
Do you understand, Jan, what the motion is?
I'll second.
And this is only through the end of the school, this
May
calendar
21st.
school year.
May 21st.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
You want to talk about summer school, or
Well,
will
the
you give
summer
me the
school,
authority to?
I would
make
like
that
to make,
decision?
can I make a motion to give that decision to you?
You can.
I'll make a
And,
motion.
and it won't just come from me. I will maybe make the motion that I work with our local and county health department to determine the need.
Okay, before you make that motion, that is going totally opposite of what we decided for this whole school year.
Right, but this
We
is
said
now
only
summer
the school
school
board
with everything
can do
being
that.
different.
But summer school is going to be 6 foot apart. If they're not 6 foot apart, they're going to have to wear masks.
Well, not under her motion. It would
Well,
leave it up to
we're gonna
superintendent.
have the kids bring a mask, because if there's a situation where they're doing small group works,
Yeah.
they'll have to mask up.
Right.
I think we need to go back to the CDC guidelines for summer school. I mean,
We will be the only ones.
so be it, but we'll be the safe one, though. We're following the CDC, we're not caving in what we've agreed to for the whole year.
But
We're
some-
doing it for 9 school days
We have
to
200
get
and
us across the
something.
finish line.
Compared to 1,400, we have 215.
No, compared to 4,700.
47, I'm sorry,
Or
compared to
44.
215, and then they're all in different locations, they'll all be separated, correct?
And we have
we're-
no evidence of spread.
Right, and yeah, we're at that level that we have nothing.
But the CDC hadn't given us that authority yet.
I still give it to Shelley.
And legislation could come up. I mean, the end of session is going to be before
Well, I think it
June
probably
1.
will this summer. CDC's probably going to make a change.
Well,
But they
the
haven't.
legislation on the mask mandate,
Yeah.
the end of session is coming up. I imagine that will come.
Do the CDC guidelines change daily? Or,
You never know. Yeah, they changed. They came out and said that it's now safe for kids to be 3 feet apart, but the close contact quarantine guidelines are still 6 feet, 15 minutes or less. So I think it was an effort to get schools to reopen.
What you're saying, Nancy, is we're undoing what we have said, what we've
It's
lived by
different
the whole school year.
circumstances, though, is what I'm saying. This is
Huh?
a total different circumstances, is what, am I just viewing it wrong? I mean,
And we could
What do
base
you
it on
think,
the risk
Judy?
level too.
well, help me think it through. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking we need to go back to exactly what we said before. We've made an exception here to get us across the finish line for the juniors and seniors to go to graduation and proms.
In
But
graduation.
I'm not, personally, I'm not willing to open it back up and throw out everything we've held firm to for the whole year. Just because the other schools are doing it.
could we not have another is that not something that you could just discuss with, like, we could do what we just did again, but have a special meeting? Or is that just to discuss it, or can you have a committee, like, type of meeting?
We can have a special meeting.
Although we really don't have to do anything.
I still stand by my motion for Shelley, because it's different circumstances, where the risk level is different, there's no evidence, smaller amount of
Just for
children.
summer school or for next school year?
No, just for summer
Just for
school,
summer
just for
school.
summer school. Next school year's, I mean, we got to look at the numbers and everything then, you know? So I will make a motion for Shelley and with help of health.
Our COVID team. our
COVID
protocol
team.
We
I
have
second.
one.
Okay, made by Nancy, seconded by Mrs. Rowland.
Correct.
Roll call, Judy True?
We're leaving it, I'm confused. We're leaving
for
it up
summer
to
school.
you. We're
For
let-
summer school, I'll
You
work
will
with our
make the
COVID team
decision.
and local health authorities.
Okay, aye.
Mr. Riley?
Nay.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Nay.
Mrs. Rowland?
Mistake.
Aye.
Okay.
Next item 5.
Okay, now this is the consent agenda. Agenda with commentary, and then minutes from April 12th and April 14th, special meetings, and April 26th, another special board meeting, and the consent the contract / agreements under $10,000. Any questions?
I'll make a motion we approve.
Okay.
Well,
Item
second.
5.
Second by Mrs.
Okay, 6, action item, oh,
gotta
sorry,
vote.
sorry.
Mr. Newsom,
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed,
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland, Mr. Riley,
Aye.
Mrs. Troop.
Aye.
Okay, action items, we need a motion for A through N in all its entirety, and if anybody has any questions before the motion is made.
We had a good meeting. Who we approved
Okay,
at our Tuesday meeting.
and I'll make a second.
Second.
Mr. Newsom,
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed,
Aye.
Mr. Riley,
Aye.
Mrs. Troop,
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland.
Aye.
Okay. Number 2 is consent and take action of the following contracts and agreements. I have A through C are agreements with a special speech and language services for the year 2022. And it's the district will identify the students who need the service and shall approve each individual situation as provided for under state and federal regulations. So that's A through C. And then D is the agreement with AM in healthcare for speech language pathologist services for the year 21-22 school year. And it's a pathologist that comes in, and it's a contractor for $90,450 for that year. Does anybody have any questions so far? Going kind of fast, no? Okay. Agreement with Burnett Security and Investigations for the carrier service of 2021-2022. It's $140 a day, 165 school days. Estimated cost is $17,368. If anybody has any questions, Ms. Story would answer those. Nope. F is agreement with Barnett Security and Investigations for the security of Ponca City High School. And this is for 2 security officers at the Ponca City High School. The cost is $17.95 per student. Total cost is $47,962.40. If any questions, it's for Mr. Smith.
Student per hour per student? Was it per hour per student or per student? It says per hour per student, but I was just
Per
making.
student / per hour per
Okay, so it is
student.
per hour.
Contact days,
Oh, okay.
and that's 167.
Student contact day. Oh, okay.
Uh-huh. Okay, and G through J, they're all Ingenuity ones. We have it for the high school. Hold on. Wildcat Academy school users, and that's a 3-year agreement for 60 concurrent user license. H is for another 3 years, and it's 50 concurrent user license. Another agreement with Ingenuity for Virtual Academy, and that's for 40 single user license. And then another agreement with Ingenuity for the Virtual Academy site license, and that's another 3-year agreement for with them. And that's for grades 6 through 12. Anybody have any questions on those for Ms. Barbara? No? Okay. Agreement with Ed Skills LLC for English language learners support service. It's a software assistant identifying bilingual students in our district. The cost of that is $10,780 for the year of 21-22. Agreement with Frontline Education for absence and time solution and proactive recruiting software. And the purpose of this is to provide an integrated insight and technology solution bundle for frontline absence and time management. Okay, the cost of that is $35,013.10. Okay, is everybody okay? Am I going too fast? Okay. Okay. The agreement with Gallup for Teacher Insight and Principal Insight. This is for Teacher Insight application assessment on Achievement Drive, student and parent relationship, and classroom structure and planning. And that also goes for the Principal Insight. And the cost is $15,000, and it starts July 1st through June 30th of 2022. And the next N is agreement with Imagine Learner for language and literacy site license. It's a $200,000 fee. It's for pre-K and pre-K elementary school, and it's a 30 imaginary language and literacy annual student licenses. And it also has for EL students at West for $4,500. Okay. And another one is O for agreement of 1XL or IXL Learning for Software. Provides educational practice for students and analytical tools to track students in identifying their academic improvements. That's $12,350 for the year 21-22. We also have another agreement, which is P, Learning Science International for Observation Renewal. And this is it's Learning Science International provides Observation, which is an online instructional and leadership improvement tool used for evaluation. It's a $21,000 cost for the period of August 1st through July 31st. Okay. Q, quote with Meteor Education, air and surface pathogen reduction units and sanitizing products. It's the things that were in the back of the room that one day.
The little Casper units.
Okay, it's a big cost, but it also helps for sanitary reasons. Where did I go? $504,515. And if we have any questions for Mr. Brett on that? No. Okay. R is agreement with PageMaster Website Design and Development for the website service. And Ms. Barbara is with PageMaster Website Design, and she will be getting paid $29 per hour up to 600 hours. And the cost will run up to $17,400 from July 1st to June 30th of 2022. S is agreement with Power School and Talent Ed and School Spring Job Board. This software is used by Human Resources Department to streamline many areas of personnel records, and it cost us $22,111.59, and the applicant tracking is separate, which is $5,360.39, which a total of $27,471.98 for the year 21-22. T and U are also, they're licensing for the Reading Plus for the high school, and then we have it for it's a 3-year contract, and we also have it for East Middle School also. V is agreement with Renaissance Learning, license renewal for reading and math levels, assessment software. It's a agreement for software for K through 12, and we get accelerated reading, accelerated math, Freckles Star 360 Star Math. The cost would cost us $87,273.50, and that's for 21-22 school year. God bless you. Agreement with Rhinestone Fist and Ringgold for legal services in 2021-2022, and this is an as needed by our superintendent or our Board of Education, and the cost of that is $10,000. And we also have an agreement with Solution Tree for professional learning, communities virtual training, and this is a training, and if I'm correct, has no limit on how many people can go to this training in June 30th, 29th, 30th, and 1st. The cost is $24,000.
I've got a question on that one.
Okay.
With all the virtual distance learning we did with teachers this year, why do we need to spend $24,000 to train them again?
This is on PLCs, the professional learning community process, not digital learning. This is what
They didn't do this before?
It's been years. When's the last time we've done PLC training, Barbara?
Well, the last time, it would have been the year before last, when we sent, some sites sent some teachers, but it's something that we send, usually a group of 2 teachers yearly too. So, but typically we have to pay for transportation, hotel, food, so our cost is a lot greater. This weekend is open to any certified staff member in the district. So
And sites are bringing teams to do the training at their site, so on site.
Cheaper.
Do all schools do this?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I loved doing PLCs when I was teaching. It was just
I make a motion to approve A through X.
Okay, and I will second that motion.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Okay. Consider and take action to approve agreement with KW Select and Keeler Williams for the realty for brokerage service for the sale of school property. And this is, hold on, It starts May 10th and termination at midnight on the 60 business days, and they get 7% of total price or $2,500 flat fee if the sale or exchange of the property takes place within 30 days. Do you need to talk about this? This is a Brandon community in the Finley School Center property.
Brett, if you want to.
These were old school, consolidated school districts that belonged, well, the school gave them as a corporation to a community. Braden is one of them and Finley's the other. And in the contract or the agreement, if they cease to become a community corporation, the property reverts back to the school district that it consolidated with many years ago, and that's what happened. So they both our properties again. So now that we can just technically just go out and sell them, take KW and let them do that for us, and then we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion for number 3?
I'll move that we accept A and B.
Second.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Okay. Number 4 is motion and vote to convey an executive session for the following purpose: to discuss the possible termination, reassignment, resignation, and employee of the personnel on the attached detailed personnel report.
Make a motion to go into executive session.
Okay, anybody? I'll second.
second.
Okay.
Okay, and
Mr.
Jennifer
Newsom?
is, sorry,
Mr.
sorry.
Newsom?
Aye. Oh, yes.
Mr.
are we doing?
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Going
Mrs.
in
Troop?
executive, aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Okay, return to open session. Recital by the board president, the minutes of executive session were kept by the board minutes clerk and will remain confidential. Consider and take action on recommendation for termination, reassignment, resignation, and employment of personnel. Make a motion, please.
I'll second.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye. Okay, new business?
Yes, we do have some new business. We got a contract for a rental agreement for Spacewalk products for our student council party on May the 17th at Wentz Camp. We just got it today, and Mr. Bracken reviewed, and he had some concerns with the contract. So I would recommend that we approve the contract for Spacewalk of Stillwater pending attorney approval for May 17th.
So move.
Second.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom? Miss
Aye.
Newsom? Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Okay, motion for adjournment?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Aye.